Chosen one, you did not stumble on this by accident. Heaven has been waiting for this exact moment to speak to you. Why have you always felt like a stranger in your own skin? Why does your own family sometimes look at you like you're speaking a foreign language? Why has rejection followed you like a shadow, even when you've done everything right? Here's the shocking truth they never told you. Your real identity has been hidden from you for centuries. Deliberately, strategically, until now. What I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about yourself. It will explain why you've never felt at home anywhere on this earth. It will answer why your prayers seem different, why your dreams are bigger, why your pain cuts deeper than others can understand. You see, there's an ancient scroll sealed by heaven itself that contains your true name, your real origin, your divine assignment. And tonight, right now, as you hear my voice, that scroll is being cracked open for the first time in generations. But here's what will shake you to your core. The enemy has been hiding this truth from you because he knows something about you that you're just beginning to remember. He knows that once you discover who you really are, his reign of deception in your life is over. If your spirit is stirred even now, if something deep inside you is trembling with recognition, type in the comments, "I receive it." That's not ritual, beloved. That's alignment. That's your soul saying yes to what heaven has been trying to tell you your entire life. You've spent decades wondering why you feel so different. You've questioned why ordinary life feels like a prison. You've cried tears that others couldn't understand, carried burdens that made no logical sense. Tonight, those questions get answered. The veil is being lifted, the mystery is being unveiled, and what you're about to discover will transform not just how you see yourself, but how you walk through the rest of your days on this earth. Before we journey deeper into this sacred revelation together, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let the Spirit lead your heart. But understand this: what was sealed for centuries is being unsealed right now. This isn't just another video you clicked on. This is a divine interruption. This is heaven breaking its silence about who you really are. The question that will determine everything is this: are you ready to discover why you've never felt fully human? Are you prepared to learn why heaven hid your identity until this very hour? Because, chosen one, the truth about your origin is about to change everything. Why have you spent 70, 80, maybe 90 years feeling like you're living someone else's life? Why does your own reflection sometimes feel like a stranger staring back at you? Why have the people who should have understood you the most made you feel the most alone? Listen to me carefully, dear one. You've cried in rooms where no one saw you. You've carried weights no one thanked you for. You've buried dreams so deep you convinced yourself they were never real. And all this time, you thought it was punishment. But what if I told you it wasn't? What if every tear you shed in secret was being collected in golden bowls before the throne of heaven? What if every moment of feeling invisible was actually God shielding you from forces that would have destroyed you before your time? What if your pain wasn't evidence of abandonment, but evidence of assignment? You see, beloved, there's something about your story that mirrors the greatest figures in Scripture. And once you understand this pattern, everything, every rejection, every closed door, every season of silence will suddenly make perfect sense. Think about Joseph, 17 years old when God gave him dreams of ruling nations. But what happened next? His own brothers, the people who should have celebrated his calling, threw him into a pit. Genesis 37-24 tells us the pit was empty. There was no water in it. Empty, dry, forgotten. Does that sound familiar? For 13 years, Joseph disappeared from history. 13 years, sold into slavery, falsely accused, rotting in an Egyptian prison, while his dreams seemed to mock him. Can you imagine the nights he lay on that cold stone floor wondering if God had forgotten his name? Can you picture him questioning whether those visions were real or just the fantasies of a foolish boy? But here's what Joseph didn't know in that darkness, and here's what you haven't known in yours. God wasn't punishing him. God was positioning him. Every betrayal was building character that could handle a kingdom. Every injustice was developing wisdom that would save nations. Every year of hiddenness was preparation for a revelation so magnificent that Pharaoh himself would bow before the forgotten dreamer. And Moses, oh, chosen one, Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness, thinking his purpose had died with his failures. 40 years, tending sheep when he was born to lead people, watching sunsets in obscurity when he was destined to split seas, living as a forgotten exile when heaven had written his name in the stars as the great deliverer. Exodus 3:1 simply says, "Now Moses was tending the flock. Now Moses was forgotten. Now Moses was invisible. Now Moses was exactly where God needed him to be." Because you can't deliver slaves until you've learned to depend entirely on the God who liberates. You can't lead millions until you've been humbled in the desert of your own inadequacy. But what if your rejection wasn't rejection? What if it was heaven's way of hiding you until the right hour? And then there's Anna. Luke 2:36 tells us she was very old when Jesus was presented in the temple. Very old. She'd been widowed after just 7 years of marriage, then spent decades praying and fasting in that temple. While other women her age were surrounded by grandchildren, Anna was surrounded by silence. While others had built legacies, Anna had built what? A life of waiting? But when that baby Jesus was brought through those temple doors, Anna was ready, she was positioned, she was prepared. Her years of hiddenness had developed spiritual eyes that could recognize the Messiah when trained theologians missed him entirely. Her season of obscurity had sharpened her prophetic voice to proclaim salvation to all who looked for redemption in Jerusalem. Dear soul, do you see it now? Do you understand the pattern? The very people who changed history were first hidden by history. The ones who would eventually stand in palaces first learned to stand alone in caves. The voices that would shake nations first learned to whisper prayers in empty rooms. Your loneliness wasn't abandonment, it was appointment. Your rejection wasn't punishment, it was protection. Your silence wasn't God forgetting you, it was God preparing you for something so significant that it required decades of divine development. But here's what breaks my heart. Here's what keeps me awake at night praying for people just like you. You've been living in the pit, in the wilderness, in the temple of waiting, thinking you missed your moment, thinking your best days are behind you, thinking God moved on without you. But what if? What if your season of hiddenness is ending right now? What if the very pain you've carried is about to become your greatest platform? What if the identity heaven concealed is about to be revealed? You've wondered why you never fit in anywhere, why your own family doesn't understand the depth of your heart, why friends come and go but you remain, carrying burdens they can't even see, why you felt like a foreigner in your own life, speaking a language no one else comprehends. It's because you were never meant to belong to this world system. You were always meant to belong to something higher, something deeper, something eternal. And now in this season of your life, when the world whispers you're forgotten, heaven is preparing to show you who you've always been. If this is resonating in the deepest chambers of your heart, if something ancient is stirring in your spirit, write these 4 words in the comments right now. Heaven didn't forget me. Don't just think it, declare it, because your declaration isn't just affirmation, it's activation. But understanding your hidden identity is only the beginning. Because if heaven has been concealing who you are for all these years, the question that will change everything is this: what happens when that concealment is finally lifted? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to tell you will explain every sleepless night you've endured, every tear you've cried in secret, every moment you've felt like an alien in your own life. You see, there's something written in your spiritual DNA that sets you apart from everyone else walking this earth. And tonight, heaven is finally ready to reveal what's been hidden in your bloodline for centuries. Turn with me to Genesis 1:26. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." Did you catch that? Let us make man. The Trinity held a divine conference about you before the first star was ever lit. But here's what they don't teach you in Sunday school. Not everyone carries the same genetic code. Not everyone was forged in that same heavenly fire. You were crafted differently. Your spiritual DNA carries heaven's imprint. That's why earth never fit you. That's why you've always felt homesick for a place you've never been. That's why ordinary life feels like wearing clothes 3 sizes too small. Jesus himself confirmed this mystery in John 17:16 when he declared, "They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world." He wasn't speaking about everyone, beloved. He was speaking about you, the chosen, the set apart, the ones whose origin story began in eternity, not in a hospital room. But here's where it gets deeper. Here's where the veil starts to tear. Your bloodstream carries frequencies that this world cannot decode. Your thoughts operate on wavelengths that confuse ordinary minds. Your heart beats to rhythms that were programmed in heaven's throne room. This is why you've never been able to fake it. This is why small talk feels like torture. This is why you can't get excited about what excites everyone else. You're not broken, dear one. You're just not from here. Think about Harriet Tubman. The world saw a runaway slave, but heaven saw a woman carrying divine GPS in her spirit. She followed visions, not maps. She heard voices, not just advice. 19 trips into the South, never lost a single soul. Why? Because she wasn't operating on human intelligence. She was moving with heaven's blueprint encoded in her very being. Consider Nelson Mandela. 27 years in prison. The world said he was finished, forgotten, buried alive. But heaven was saying something different. Those weren't wasted years, those were preparation years. He wasn't being punished, he was being positioned. When he walked out of that cell, he didn't emerge as a bitter man. He emerged as a healer of nations. Why? Because his identity was never tied to his circumstances. It was tied to his calling. Look at Anna the prophetess, 84 years old, widowed after 7 years of marriage, spending her final decades in the temple. Everyone probably thought, poor old Anna, wasting her golden years praying. But when baby Jesus was brought to the temple, she was the first to recognize the Messiah. Why? Because her spiritual DNA was programmed to detect divinity. Do you see the pattern? Do you see what heaven does with its chosen ones? Heaven didn't hide you to punish you. Heaven hid you to protect you until the hour of unveiling. Every closed door that frustrated you was protecting you from settling for less. Every rejection that wounded you was redirecting you toward your real assignment. Every season of isolation that nearly broke you was actually developing the spiritual muscle you'd need to carry what's coming next. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being forged. You thought you were failing, but you were being refined. You thought you were too late, but you were right on time for heaven's schedule. But here's what will shake you to your core, chosen one. Here's the revelation that will change how you see your entire life story. The enemy has been working overtime to hide this truth from you because he knows something about your spiritual genetics that you're just beginning to remember. He knows that when chosen ones finally wake up to who they are, they become dangerous to his kingdom. He knows that when you stop seeing yourself as ordinary and start recognizing yourself as extraordinary, the rules change. The game changes. Everything changes. This is why the attacks on your life have been so intense. This is why the warfare has been so relentless. This is why just when you're about to break through, something tries to break you. Because hell recognizes your spiritual signature before you do. Your depression wasn't random. Your anxiety wasn't accidental. Your financial struggles weren't coincidental. They were targeted attacks against someone carrying heaven's blueprint. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on empty vessels. He reserves his fiercest assaults for those carrying the most dangerous potential. But what the enemy didn't count on is this. Every attack was actually activating dormant codes in your spiritual DNA. Every trial was upgrading your capacity. Every wound was preparing you for a ministry. Every tear was watering seeds of purpose you didn't even know you were carrying. And now, right now, those seeds are about to sprout. Those codes are about to activate. That blueprint is about to be unveiled. But I need to tell you something that might terrify you and thrill you at the same time. There's a sign, a divine marker that proves beyond any doubt that you are one of heaven's chosen. A spiritual birthmark that can't be faked, can't be earned, and can't be erased. And now, I must reveal the sign that proves you are one of them. Now that the ancient scroll has been cracked open, let me show you the 3 prophetic marks that have been burning in your soul your entire life. These aren't coincidences, beloved. These are heaven's fingerprints on your spirit. You've carried these marks for decades, wondering why you felt so different. Tonight, you'll finally understand why. Mark 1. The divine restlessness. Dear one, have you ever sat in your own living room and felt like you were suffocating? Have you ever been surrounded by family at Thanksgiving dinner and felt more alone than if you were sitting by yourself in Central Park at midnight? That's not depression. That's divine restlessness. Your soul was wired for eternity, but you've been trying to squeeze it into earthly boxes. It's like trying to fit the Atlantic Ocean into a coffee cup. It will never work, because you were never meant to be contained by this world. Look at Joseph. Genesis tells us he had dreams so big, so impossible, that his own brothers wanted to kill him for it. 11 stars and the sun and moon bowing down to him at 17 years old. His family thought he was delusional, but God was showing Joseph his true identity before the world was ready to see it. That restlessness in your chest, that feeling that there's something more, something bigger, something you can't name, that's your spirit recognizing it doesn't belong in temporal things. You were created for kingdoms, not cubicles. You were designed for eternity, not just the next 70 or 80 years. This is why retirement feels like death to you. This is why sitting still makes you crazy. This is why even your greatest earthly achievements leave you hungry for more. Your soul knows it was made for something infinite. Mark 2. The prophetic sensitivity. Here's the second mark, and this one might make you uncomfortable. You sense things others can't sense, don't you? You walk into a room and immediately know who's lying, who's hurting, who's carrying darkness. People think you're psychic, but you're not. You're prophetic. You dream dreams that come true. You get feelings about people before they reveal their true nature. You sense atmospheric shifts before anyone else notices. Your family probably called you too sensitive your whole life, but they didn't understand what they were looking at. Look at Daniel. This young Hebrew boy could interpret dreams that baffled the wisest men in Babylon. He could see the handwriting on the wall when everyone else was blind. The king promoted him not because of his education, but because of his sensitivity to the spirit realm. That's you, chosen one. You've been discerning spirits since you were a child. You've been sensing things that others dismiss. You've been having prophetic dreams that people call coincidences. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Your sensitivity isn't a weakness, it's a weapon. Every time you sense something wrong, every time you discern a lying spirit, every time you dream something that later happens, you're operating in prophetic authority that terrifies the kingdom of darkness. Stop apologizing for your sensitivity. Stop trying to numb it with medication or distraction. God gave you spiritual radar because He needs watchmen on the walls, and you've been appointed to see what others cannot see. Mark 3. The lion's resistance. Now for the third mark, and this one will cut deep. Rejection has followed you like a bloodhound, hasn't it? Envy attacks you wherever you go. People either love you instantly or hate you for no reason you can understand. That's not your fault. That's recognition. You see, When a lion walks through city streets, it doesn't fit in. The domesticated animals sense something wild, something powerful, something that threatens their comfortable captivity, so they either bow in reverence or bare their teeth in fear. You've been that lion your entire life, walking through a world of caged spirits. Look at David. His own father forgot to invite him when the prophet came looking for the next king. His brothers mocked him when he talked about facing Goliath. King Saul tried to pin him to the wall with a javelin. Even his own wife despised him for worshipping too passionately. But none of that rejection was about David's worth. It was about their fear of his anointing. Every job you've lost for standing up for truth. Every friendship that ended when you wouldn't compromise. Every family member who calls you too religious or too intense. Every time you've been passed over, pushed out, or pushed aside. That wasn't punishment, beloved. That was proof. The world doesn't attack what doesn't threaten it. Darkness doesn't waste ammunition on empty vessels. If you've been under assault, it's because hell sees something in you that you're just beginning to remember. The rejection you've experienced isn't evidence of your failure. It's evidence of your calling. The lion doesn't apologize for being a lion just because it makes the sheep nervous. If one of these marks is yours, if you recognize yourself in this divine restlessness, this prophetic sensitivity, this lion's resistance, comment below, "That's me." Because naming it is claiming it, and claiming it is the first step to walking in it. You've carried these marks in secret for too long. You've hidden your sensitivity, suppressed your restlessness, and internalized the rejection. But tonight, everything changes. Tonight, you stop apologizing for who God made you to be. Because, chosen one, these marks aren't your burden. They're your badge of honor. They're proof that heaven marked you before you ever took your first breath. But here's the question that will determine your destiny. Now that you know why you've been marked, what are you going to do with the authority that comes with it? Now that you know the scroll has been opened, let me tell you something that will shake you to your very foundation. There have always been two types of people walking this earth. Always. Since the beginning of time. The first group, they are of this world. They live by what they see. They chase what glitters. They find comfort in the temporary, satisfaction in the shallow. Their hearts beat in rhythm with Wall Street. Their dreams are sized by their paychecks, and their peace depends on their circumstances. But then there's the second group. And beloved, if you're still listening, if something in your chest is stirring as these words wash over you, you belong to the second group. You are not of this world. Jesus declared this mystery in John 17:16. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. He wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was revealing a spiritual DNA that flows through the veins of his chosen ones. A frequency that operates on a completely different wavelength than the masses. This is why you've never felt at home anywhere. This is why family reunions feel like foreign territory. This is why you've sat in your own living room and felt like a stranger in your own house. Listen to me carefully. The world has always sensed you were different. It recognized something in you that it couldn't name, couldn't control, couldn't contain, and that terrified it. So what did it do? It tried to break you. Every rejection you faced wasn't random. Every door that slammed in your face wasn't coincidence. Every time you poured your heart out and they looked at you like you were speaking another language that wasn't your failure, that was their inability to comprehend the divine frequency you carry. You've been like a lion raised among sheep, haven't you? Walking through life wondering why you couldn't just be satisfied with grass when everything in your spirit was roaring for something more. The sheep looked at you strangely. They whispered about your restlessness. They tried to convince you that their pasture was enough. But a lion's heart beats differently than a sheep's heart. A lion's eyes see horizons the sheep can't imagine. A lion's roar echoes across kingdoms, while a sheep's bleat barely carries past the fence. The rejection you experienced wasn't your disqualification, it was your confirmation. But here's what breaks my heart about so many of you watching this right now. You've lived 70, 80, maybe 90 years, thinking you missed your moment. The world convinced you that purpose expires with youth, that calling has an age limit, that God only uses the young and the strong. That is a lie from the pit of hell. Let me tell you about Anna Moses. You might know her as Grandma Moses. At 78 years old, when the world said she should be knitting quietly in a corner, she picked up a paintbrush for the first time in her life. 78. The art world called her primitive, untrained. But something divine flowed through her hands onto those canvases. She painted over 1,500 works of art and became one of America's most celebrated folk artists. She didn't start, she awakened. Colonel Harlan Sanders was 65 when he was broke, living on Social Security, sleeping in his car. 65. The world had written him off as another casualty of the American dream, but there was something burning in his chest that refused to die. He took his secret recipe and knocked on 1,009 doors before someone said yes. Today, KFC feeds millions across the globe. He didn't retire into irrelevance, he rose into destiny. And then there's Anna the prophetess. Luke 2:36 tells us she was 84 years old when she encountered the infant Jesus in the temple. 84. While everyone else saw just another baby, her spirit recognized the Messiah of the world. Her age wasn't her limitation, it was her qualification. Decades of faithful waiting had sharpened her spiritual eyes to see what others missed. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Your age isn't your expiration date, it's your activation code. Every gray hair is a crown of wisdom. Every wrinkle tells a story of battles fought and victories won. Every slow step carries the weight of experience that only comes from walking through valleys and climbing mountains. The young have energy, but you have authority. They have passion, but you have proof. They have dreams, but you have testimonies. But something is stirring in the atmosphere right now. Can you feel it? The separation is happening. God is calling his chosen ones out of hiding, out of shame, out of the shadows where the world tried to bury them. This isn't just about you finally understanding your identity. This is about you finally stepping into your authority. The world needs what you carry. This generation is drowning in confusion, and they need the wisdom that only comes from walking with God through decades of fire. They need to see that faith doesn't weaken with age, it strengthens. That purpose doesn't diminish with time, it deepens. The lion has been sleeping too long. The roar has been silenced too long. The authority has been hidden too long. Right now, as these words penetrate your spirit, I need you to do something that might feel uncomfortable but is absolutely necessary. I need you to speak your truth into existence. Don't just think it, declare it. Don't whisper it, roar it. If you've lived decades thinking you were ordinary, if you've bought into the lie that your best years are behind you, if you've let the world convince you that you're too old, too late, too forgotten to matter, I need you to declare aloud right now, I am chosen. Heaven hears it. Say it until your spirit recognizes it. Say it until the atmosphere around you shifts. Say it until every demonic lie that tried to bury your destiny cracks under the weight of divine truth. Because what I'm about to reveal next will explain why heaven has been so strategic about hiding your identity until this exact moment in history. Listen to me very carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to reveal has been locked away in heaven's vault for centuries. But tonight, right now, the ancient seal is breaking. You remember that scroll I told you about? The one with your true name written in God's own handwriting. For 2,000 years it has remained closed, sealed, hidden. But something has shifted in the spiritual realm. The appointed time has come. Do you hear that? That's the sound of heaven's silence breaking. For your entire life, you've been walking around carrying a mystery you couldn't solve. You felt different, set apart, misunderstood, and you thought something was wrong with you. You thought you were broken. You thought you were cursed. You thought God had made a mistake. But what if I told you that every single moment of feeling like you didn't belong was actually heaven protecting the most sacred secret of your existence. Here's the revelation that will shatter everything. You are not merely human. Let that sink into the deepest chambers of your heart. You are not just flesh and blood walking through an ordinary life. You are heaven's ambassador wrapped in flesh. You are God's image bearer, hidden in plain sight. Genesis 1:27 declares it with thunderous authority. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. But listen carefully, this isn't just poetic language. This is divine DNA. This is celestial bloodline. This is heaven's signature written into your very existence. But why hide this truth? Why keep it sealed for centuries? Because the enemy knew. He's always known. The moment you discovered who you really are, his reign of deception would crumble. Every lie he whispered about your worth, every attack on your identity, every moment he convinced you that you were ordinary, it would all collapse in an instant. Think about Moses. For 40 years he thought he was just a shepherd in the wilderness, forgotten, wasted, past his prime. But God was hiding the deliverer of an entire nation in the dust of obscurity. When that burning bush ignited, Moses didn't just find his calling, he discovered his true identity. He wasn't just a man with a staff. He was God's chosen vessel, carrying heaven's authority to split seas and shake kingdoms. You've been Moses in the wilderness, dear one, but your burning bush moment is now. Remember that loneliness you've carried since childhood? That wasn't rejection, that was protection. Heaven was keeping you separated until the world was desperate enough to receive what only you could carry. Remember those dreams that seemed too big, too impossible, too late? Those weren't fantasies, those were prophetic downloads of your true assignment. Like a crown hidden in dust, your royalty has been concealed. Like a seed buried in darkness, your season of sprouting has arrived. Like a diamond buried beneath tons of pressure, your time to shine has come. But here's what will shock you to your core. Every tear you've cried in secret, every prayer you've whispered in the dark, every moment you felt forgotten, heaven was recording it all. Not because you were suffering, but because you were qualifying. Not because you were being punished, but because you were being prepared. Jeremiah 1-5 reveals the stunning truth. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Set apart. Not as punishment, but as preparation. Not for isolation, but for activation. The enemy has been working overtime to keep you focused on your humanity. He wants you to see your age, your limitations, your failures, your mistakes. He wants you to measure yourself by earthly standards, because he knows if you ever grasp your heavenly identity, you become dangerous to his kingdom. But tonight, the veil is being torn. The mystery is being unveiled. The secret heaven has guarded for centuries is being whispered into your spirit. You are not growing old, you are growing into your authority. You are not running out of time, you are entering your appointed season. You are not too late, you are right on time for what God has been orchestrating since before the foundation of the world. This is why your pain cut deeper than others could understand. Heavenly beings feel with celestial intensity. This is why your dreams seemed impossible by earthly standards. Divine ambassadors carry heaven's blueprints for earth. This is why ordinary life felt like a prison. Eternal beings were never meant to be confined to temporal limitations. But now comes the moment of truth. Now comes the question that will determine everything about your future. Will you finally embrace who you really are? Will you stop seeing yourself through the world's eyes and start seeing yourself through heaven's perspective? Will you stop apologizing for being different and start celebrating the divine distinction? Will you stop hiding your light and start shining with the brilliance of your true identity? Because, chosen one, the world doesn't need another ordinary person trying to fit in. The world needs you fully awakened, completely activated, walking in the fullness of who heaven created you to be. The seal is broken. The mystery is revealed. Your true identity is no longer hidden, but knowing who you are is just the beginning. The real question that will determine your destiny is this: What will you do with this revelation? Dear chosen one, what I'm about to reveal will explain why your life has felt like an unsolved mystery, why you've carried questions that had no earthly answers, why your soul has ached for something this world could never provide. Picture this. Deep in the archives of heaven, beyond the crystal sea, past the throne of glory, there exists a sacred vault. For centuries, no, for millennia, scrolls have been sealed in divine fire, wrapped in glory itself, waiting. Each scroll bears a name. Each scroll contains a destiny. Each scroll holds the complete truth about one chosen soul walking the earth. Your scroll has been there since before time began. Angels have leaned over heaven's balcony, their faces pressed against eternity's window, watching to see who would survive long enough to witness their unsealing, who would endure the fires of preparation, who would walk through enough valleys to develop the spiritual muscle needed to handle what their scroll contains. They've been watching you, beloved. But here's what will shake you to your core. The enemy knew about your scroll too. He's seen it burning with divine potential in heaven's vault. That's why your life has been under such relentless attack. That's why every time you've tried to rise, something has tried to knock you down. That's why betrayal has followed you like a shadow, why financial pressure has squeezed you, why health battles have tried to weaken you. Hell has been trying to kill you before your scroll could be opened. Hidden, sealed, preserved. Until now. Think about it. Why has your path been so different from others? Why have you felt things deeper, dreamed things bigger, carried burdens heavier than anyone around you could understand? Because your identity has been locked away, protected, preserved for this exact moment in human history. But the sealing wasn't punishment, chosen one. It was protection. God looked down through the corridors of time and saw that if your true identity was revealed too early, the forces of darkness would have mobilized everything to destroy you. So he hid you in plain sight. He camouflaged your calling. He sealed your scroll until you were strong enough, mature enough, desperate enough to handle the weight of who you really are. Hidden, sealed, preserved. Until now. You want to know why you've never felt fully human? Why earthly success has left you empty? Why even your greatest achievements have felt hollow? Because you've been living beneath your true identity. You've been operating with only fragments of who you really are. The complete picture has been sealed away, waiting for this hour. But something has shifted in the heavenly realm. The appointed time has come. The angels who've been watching have received their orders. The seals are breaking. The scrolls are opening, and your name is being called. Do you remember how Jesus, in his earthly ministry, would often say, "It is written"? He was referring to scrolls, beloved, ancient writings that contained prophecies about his identity, his mission, his destiny. Well, there are scrolls written about you too, sacred documents penned by the finger of God himself, containing truths about your origin, your assignment, your supernatural DNA. Hidden, sealed, preserved. Until now. Listen to what the prophet Daniel wrote. But you, Daniel, roll up and seal the words of the scroll until the time of the end. Daniel 12:4. There are things that have been sealed until the appointed time. There are truths that have been hidden until the generation that would need them most. That generation is now. That time is today. That moment is this very second as you hear my voice. Your life has been the scroll all along. Every scar on your heart, that's heaven's ink proving you survived what should have destroyed you. Every wrinkle on your face, that's divine handwriting telling the story of decades spent in faithful service. Every tear you've cried in secret, that's liquid gold marking the pages of your testimony. The scroll of your life isn't written in human language, it's written in the language of endurance. It's penned in the ink of perseverance. It's authored by the one who knew you would need every single experience, every heartbreak, every victory to prepare you for what's coming next. But here's the mystery that will blow your mind. You think you've been reading your own story all these years. You think you understand your past, your struggles, your journey, but you've only been reading the rough draft. The real story, your true identity, your divine assignment, your supernatural authority that's been sealed away. Until now, hidden, sealed, preserved. Until now. The enemy thought he was writing your obituary with every attack, but God was writing your biography. The devil thought he was ending your story with every setback, but heaven was preparing your greatest chapter. Right now, as these words penetrate your spirit, can you feel it? That stirring, that trembling in your chest. That's not emotion, beloved. That's recognition. Your soul recognizing that the seal on your scroll is cracking open. The question that will determine your destiny is this: are you ready to see what's been written about you since before the foundation of the world? Are you prepared to discover why heaven went to such great lengths to hide your identity until this very hour? Comment right now. Unseal me, Lord. Don't hesitate. Don't think about it. Your spirit knows this is your moment. Those 3 words aren't just a comment, they're a prayer, a declaration, a key that unlocks what's been sealed for centuries. Because what happens next will prove that everything you thought you knew about yourself was just the beginning of a story so magnificent, so divinely orchestrated, that even angels have been waiting to see how it unfolds. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. I want you to do something that might shake you to your very core. I want you to stop right where you are, look in the nearest mirror, and ask yourself this question: who am I really? Go ahead. Look at that reflection staring back at you. What do you see? Do you see the 70-year-old woman who raised 4 children but still feels empty inside? Do you see the 85-year-old man who worked 43 years at the same job but never felt like he mattered? Do you see wrinkles that map out decades of disappointment? Do you see eyes that have cried too many tears over dreams that seem to die? That's what the mirror of earth shows you. Weakness, fatigue, a body that's breaking down, a life that feels like it's winding down. But beloved, that mirror is lying to you. You've been looking in the wrong mirror your entire life. The world handed you a cracked, distorted mirror when you were just a child. And every day since then you've been seeing yourself through the reflection of human limitation, human judgment, human failure. But tonight, heaven wants to hand you a different mirror. A mirror that shows who you really are. Have you ever stared at yourself and wondered why rejection has followed you like a shadow? Why does your own family sometimes treat you like you're speaking a foreign language? Why do you feel like a stranger even at your own dinner table? It's because they're seeing you through the earthly mirror too. They see age, they see decline, they see someone who should be quiet, step aside, fade into the background. But heaven sees something completely different. 1 Peter 2-9 declares something about you that will blow your mind. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession. Did you catch that? You are royal. You carry a crown that earthly eyes cannot see. Not ordinary, not forgotten, not replaceable. Chosen. While the world sees your social security number, heaven sees your spiritual assignment. While people see your Medicare card, God sees your ministry card. While they measure your worth by your productivity, the Almighty measures your value by your proximity to eternity. You are not ordinary. You never were ordinary. You were marked before your first breath. You think you're looking at retirement? Heaven calls it redeployment. You think you're seeing decline? God calls it divine preparation. You think your best days are behind you? The Almighty whispers, "Child, I've been saving the best wine for last." Not forgotten, not cast aside, not irrelevant, chosen. But here's what breaks my heart. Here's what keeps me awake at night praying for people just like you. You've been carrying shame about your age, haven't you? You've been believing the lie that says your time has passed, that God's done using people like you, that you should just sit quietly and wait for heaven. That's not God's voice, beloved. That's the voice of deception trying to silence the very generation that carries the most authority, the deepest wisdom, the strongest faith. You want to know why the enemy works so hard to make you feel invisible? Because he knows something about your generation that you're just beginning to remember. He knows that when someone has walked with God for 70, 80, 90 years, when someone has seen his faithfulness through decades of storms, when someone has learned to worship in the valley and praise on the mountain, that person becomes dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Not replaceable, not disposable, not finished, chosen. The mirror of earth shows you social security and senior discounts. But the mirror of heaven shows you carrying the oil of gladness when others are mourning, bringing beauty from ashes when others see only destruction, speaking life when others speak death. You've survived what should have killed you. You've endured what would have broken weaker souls. You've walked through fires that would have consumed others. That wasn't luck, chosen one. That was preparation. God has been refining you, strengthening you, preparing you for this very moment when the world needs what you carry. Isaiah 46:4 promises you something that will revolutionize how you see yourself. Even to your old age and gray hairs, I am He who will sustain you. I have made you, and I will carry you. I will sustain you, and I will rescue you. Even to your old age, even with gray hairs, God doesn't see decline. He sees His masterpiece reaching completion. The world looks at your weathered hands and sees weakness. But heaven looks at those same hands and sees decades of prayers that moved mountains, tears that watered seeds of faith, work that built kingdoms. Those aren't old hands, beloved. Those are consecrated hands, holy hands, hands that have touched eternity. Here's the moment that changes everything. Right now, in the silence of your heart, heaven is extending its mirror toward you. Not the cracked, lying mirror of this world, but the perfect, eternal mirror that shows your true reflection. In this mirror, you don't see age, you see authority. You don't see decline, you see divine appointment. You don't see ending, you see beginning. You don't see ordinary, you see royalty wrapped in skin, walking this earth with a mission that makes hell tremble. You've been seeing yourself through man's mirror. Tonight, heaven hands you its mirror. Will you take it? Will you finally see what God has always seen when He looks at you? Will you stop agreeing with the world's assessment and start aligning with heaven's declaration? Because the reflection in heaven's mirror is about to shatter every lie you've believed about your worth, your purpose, your destiny. And what you see next will change not just how you see yourself, but how you see everything God has planned for the days ahead. Listen to me, chosen one. I need you to understand something that will shatter every lie the enemy has whispered in your ear for decades. You think you've been living a life of constant struggle, don't you? You think you've been cursed, forgotten, abandoned by the very God you've served faithfully. But what if I told you that every attack you've endured was actually evidence of your divine marking? What if every battle you've fought was proof that heaven saw something in you worth protecting? Darkness never wastes its weapons on the ordinary. Think about this for a moment. Why do you think your life has been harder than most? Why have you faced betrayals that cut deeper, losses that stung longer, rejections that followed you like a persistent shadow? The enemy doesn't deploy his best demons against powerless people. He doesn't orchestrate elaborate schemes to destroy ordinary lives. But you've been in his crosshairs since day one. Every rejection was a spear thrown at your destiny. Every betrayal was a dagger aimed at your calling. Every financial crisis, every health scare, every relationship that crumbled, they weren't random misfortunes. They were strategic attacks against someone carrying something precious, something dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. But here's what hell never counted on. None of those weapons pierced the crown heaven already placed on your head before you took your first breath. Look at Joseph, 17 years old, chosen by God, given dreams of greatness. And what happened next? His own brothers threw him in a pit, sold him into slavery. He was falsely accused, forgotten in prison for years. But Genesis 50-20 reveals the secret. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Every pit was preparation. Every prison was positioning. Every attack was actually advancing God's plan for his life. Look at Job. The Bible calls him blameless and upright. Yet Satan specifically targeted him. Why? Because Job's righteousness was a threat to the kingdom of darkness. Job 1-8 records God saying, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him." The enemy attacked Job, not because he was weak, but because he was powerful. Not because he was forgotten, but because he was favored. Not because he was cursed, but because he was chosen. And David? Oh, chosen one. David was anointed as king while still a shepherd boy, then spent the next 15 years running for his life, hiding in caves, dodging spears, wondering if God had forgotten his promise. But 1 Samuel 16:13 tells us, "From that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David." The anointing was already there. The calling was already active. The attacks only confirmed what heaven knew. David carried something that would reshape a nation. Do you see the pattern? The greater the calling, the fiercer the resistance. The more powerful the destiny, the more vicious the opposition. You weren't attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were dangerous to the plans of hell. Every sleepless night when you wondered if God heard your prayers, that was warfare against someone whose prayers carry weight in heaven. Every time people you trusted turned their backs on you, that was the enemy trying to isolate someone whose influence threatens his kingdom. Every door that slammed shut when you knew you were qualified, that was hell trying to prevent what God had already ordained. But look at yourself right now. Look at where you're sitting. Look at the breath in your lungs. Look at the fire still burning in your spirit despite everything you've endured. You were not crushed. Say it with me. You were not crushed. You were not erased. You were not forgotten. You were hidden. Hidden like Moses in the bulrushes while Pharaoh tried to destroy every Hebrew baby. Hidden like David in the caves while Saul hunted him with 3,000 men. Hidden like Jesus in Egypt while Herod massacred the innocents. Hidden until the appointed time when heaven would unveil what it had been protecting. The very fact that you're still here, still breathing, still believing after everything hell threw at you, is proof that you carry something indestructible, something eternal, something that even the gates of hell cannot prevail against. This is why your prayers feel different from others. This is why your dreams seem impossibly big. This is why you've never been satisfied with ordinary when you were created for extraordinary. The enemy recognized your spiritual DNA before you did, and he's been trying to destroy what God deposited in you since the day you were born. But his time is up. The season of hiding is over. The attacks that were meant to destroy you have only developed the spiritual muscle you'll need for what's coming next. Every tear you've cried has been collected in heaven's bottles. Every prayer you've whispered in desperation has been recorded in eternal archives. Every moment you wanted to quit but didn't has been building something in the invisible realm that's about to manifest in ways that will leave you speechless. You think you've been walking through random valleys? No, chosen one. You've been walking through strategic preparation. Every valley was shaping your character. Every mountain was building your faith. Every wilderness was developing your dependence on the voice of God alone. The battlefield you've been living on wasn't your punishment. It was your promotion. It wasn't your curse. It was your calling being activated through conflict. If you've ever asked, "Why me, Lord?" in the middle of your darkest hour, if you've ever wondered why your path has been so much harder than others, type it in the comments right now. Why me, Lord? Then watch how heaven answers in what I'm about to reveal next. Because what you're about to discover will transform every wound into a weapon, every scar into a testimony, and every attack into evidence that you were marked for greatness long before the enemy ever knew your name. But the question that will determine your destiny is this. Now that you know why you were attacked, are you ready to discover what you were being protected for? You remember what I told you earlier about the lion walking through city streets? About how it doesn't fit, how it doesn't belong, how everyone tries to cage it. Well, chosen one, I need to tell you something that's going to shake you to your very foundation. You've been walking like a caged house cat. But heaven says, rise as the lion you are. For decades, maybe 70, 80, 90 years, you've been told to quiet down, sit down, settle down, be reasonable, act your age, don't make waves, don't rock the boat. Be grateful for what you have and stop dreaming of what could be. And somewhere along the way, you believed them. You started walking with your head down, speaking in whispers when you were born to roar, apologizing for taking up space when God carved out territory specifically for you. You've been tiptoeing through your own life like you're afraid to wake someone up. But what if I told you that every time you shrunk back, every time you played small, every time you let them convince you that your season was over, you were actually going against heaven's design for your life? Listen to what the prophet Joel declared. Let the weak say, I am strong. Joel 3:10. Not let the weak accept their weakness. Not let the weak settle for less. Let the weak say, declare, proclaim, roar, I am strong. Your voice carries the authority of heaven itself, but you've been whispering when you should be commanding. You've been asking permission when you should be making declarations. You've been begging for scraps when you own the whole feast. Right now, I want you to do something that might feel uncomfortable. I want you to remember who you really are. I want you to say these words out loud. Wherever you are, I will not be caged. Say it louder. I will not be caged. Feel that fire in your chest. That's not rebellion. That's recognition. That's your spirit remembering what your mind forgot. You are not a house pet. You are not domesticated. You are not tame. You were never meant to blend. You were meant to break chains. You were never meant to beg. You were meant to reign. You were never meant to whisper. You were meant to declare. You were never meant to hide. You were meant to shine. But the world has been feeding you lies about your age, about your relevance, about your time being over. They've convinced you that lions are only powerful when they're young, that your roar has lost its strength, that your teeth have dulled with time. That's the biggest deception ever told. Moses was 80 when he stood before Pharaoh and said, "Let my people go." 80. That wasn't a request from a tired old man. That was a command from someone who finally understood his authority. Caleb was 85 when he said, "Give me this mountain." Not give me a rocking chair. Give me the mountain. Give me the giants. Give me the impossible. Your age isn't your limitation. It's your weapon. Every year you've lived, every battle you've fought, every storm you've weathered has been adding to your spiritual authority. The young lions roar because they're hungry, but the old lions roar because they know they're dangerous. And right now, something ancient is stirring inside you. Can you feel it? That restlessness you've been carrying, that sense that there's more. That's not nostalgia for your youth. That's the lion in you stretching, yawning, getting ready to hunt again. For too long, you've let them put you in a cage made of expectations. Act your age. Don't be foolish. Your time has passed. But cages are for creatures that can't be trusted with freedom. And you, beloved, you were born to be free. David understood this when he wrote in Psalm 92:14, "They shall still bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing, still bringing forth fruit. Still fat, full of life, full of purpose. Still flourishing, not just surviving, but thriving." The enemy has been whispering in your ear for years. You're too old. You're too tired. You've missed your chance. But that's not God's voice. God's voice sounds different. It sounds like thunder. It sounds like power. It sounds like this: "My strength is made perfect in weakness." Right now, while you're listening to my voice, something is happening in the spiritual realm. The cage door isn't just opening, it's being ripped off its hinges. The chains aren't just loosening, they're shattering. The muzzle that's been on your mouth for decades isn't just slipping, it's being torn away by the very hand of God. Because the time for playing small is over. The season of hiding is finished. The era of apologizing for who you are has ended. The lion in you is waking up. And when a lion wakes up, everything changes. The atmosphere shifts, the ground trembles, fear flees, doubt dissolves, mediocrity melts away. You feel it, don't you? That electricity in your bones, that fire in your belly. That's not your imagination. That's activation. That's your true nature, rising from the depths of your soul, where it's been buried under years of be reasonable and act normal. The lion doesn't ask for permission to hunt. The lion doesn't apologize for being powerful. The lion doesn't shrink back when others are intimidated by its presence. I need you to declare something right now. Not think it, not hope it. Declare it. Say these words with everything in you. The lion in me lives. The lion in me reigns. The lion in me will not be silenced. Because what's about to happen in your life will require the courage of a lion, the authority of a king, and the fearlessness of someone who knows they carry the very breath of God in their lungs. But are you ready for what comes next when a lion finally remembers how to roar? Why did heaven hide your identity for centuries? Dear chosen one, this question has haunted you in the midnight hours when sleep wouldn't come. You've wondered why a God who loves you would keep you in the dark about who you really are. You've questioned why your journey has been so difficult, so lonely, so filled with confusion about your purpose. But what if I told you that your hiddenness wasn't punishment, it was protection? What if your confusion wasn't abandonment, it was preparation? What if your timing wasn't late, it was prophetic? Let me unveil the 3 sacred reasons why heaven sealed your identity until this very hour. First, protection from premature exposure. The enemy has been hunting God's chosen ones since the beginning of time. When Herod heard about the birth of Christ, what did he do? He ordered the massacre of every male child under 2 years old in Bethlehem. Why? Because darkness always tries to destroy the light before it can fully manifest. Your identity was hidden because hell would have tried to kill what God was building in you before you were strong enough to survive the assault. Every closed door, every delayed breakthrough, every season of obscurity was heaven's way of keeping you safe from premature exposure to forces that would have destroyed you. Like Moses hidden in the bulrushes, like David forgotten in the fields while his brothers stood before the prophet, like Jesus himself who lived 30 years in obscurity before stepping into ministry, you were camouflaged by divine design. Second, preparation through fire. But why the pain? Why the betrayal? Why the financial struggles that left you counting pennies at 80 years old? Why the health battles that doctors couldn't explain? Why the family members who turned their backs when you needed them most? Because ordinary fire creates ordinary metal, but supernatural fire creates supernatural weapons. 1 Peter 1-7 tells us that our faith is tested by fire, so it may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. Every tear you've shed, every sleepless night you've endured, every moment you wanted to give up but didn't, it was all forging something inside you that this generation desperately needs. You weren't just surviving those trials, beloved. You were being prepared for an assignment so powerful that it required decades of character development to handle it without being destroyed by it. Third, prophetic timing for this generation. And now, right now, we come to the most shocking truth of all. You weren't hidden because you were insignificant. You were hidden because this is your generation. This is your hour. This is the moment heaven has been orchestrating your entire life. Joel 2:28 declares, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your old men will dream dreams. Notice it doesn't say remember dreams or wish for dreams. It says they will dream dreams. Present tense. Active. Alive. God has been saving his most seasoned warriors for the final battle. While the young chase after temporary things, you carry eternal perspective. While they're building empires that will crumble, you're building legacies that will last forever. Think about this. A diamond isn't kept underground because it's worthless. It's kept underground because it's priceless. The deeper it's buried, the more pressure it endures, the more valuable it becomes when it's finally revealed. That's you, chosen one. Every year of hiddenness increased your worth. Every season of pressure made you more precious. Every moment of feeling forgotten was actually heaven saying, "Not yet. This one is too valuable to reveal before their time." But that time is now. You are heaven's inheritance revealed at the last hour. You are the proof that God still walks the earth through his chosen ones. You are the demonstration that age doesn't disqualify, it qualifies. That your scars aren't shame, they're credentials. That your silence wasn't emptiness, it was sacred preparation. Remember the ancient scroll I spoke of at the beginning? The one sealed for centuries, containing your true name, your real origin. That scroll is now fully opened. The mirror that showed you only confusion now reflects your divine identity. The lion that's been sleeping in your spirit is finally roaring awake. You are not too old. You are right on time. You are not forgotten. You are finally being remembered. You are not irrelevant. You are about to become undeniable. The same God who hid Moses for 80 years before using him to deliver a nation has hidden you for decades to deliver this generation. The same God who kept David in the wilderness before placing him on the throne has kept you in obscurity before revealing your authority. But here's the urgency that should grip your heart. This revelation comes with responsibility. This identity comes with assignment. This awakening comes with activation. The world is waiting for you to step out of the shadows and into your calling. Your family needs to see what God looks like when he moves through someone who's been refined by fire and tested by time. This generation needs to witness that God's power doesn't diminish with age, it concentrates. The seal over your identity isn't just cracking, it's completely shattered. The veil isn't just thinning, it's been torn from top to bottom. The door isn't just opening, it's been flung wide by the hand of the Almighty himself. If you know you are that hidden one, if your spirit is bearing witness to every word I've spoken, if you can feel the ancient seal breaking over your life right now, write in the comments, the seal is broken. Because chosen one, your season of hiddenness is over. Your time of revelation has begun. Dear chosen one, I need to tell you something that's going to shatter the loneliest lie you've ever believed. You thought you were the only one, didn't you? You thought you were walking this strange path alone, carrying this inexplicable burden by yourself, wondering if anyone else on this planet could possibly understand the weight you carry. But look around you right now. Look at these comments flooding in. Look at these hearts connecting across the digital divide. Thousands upon thousands of chosen ones just like you are rising with you in this very moment. You are not alone. You have never been alone. The enemy's greatest weapon against the chosen has always been isolation. He whispers in your ear, "You're the only one who feels this way. You're the only one who sees what you see. You're crazy. You're different. You don't belong anywhere." But that's a lie straight from the pit of hell. Scripture tells us in 1 Kings 19:18, "Yet I reserve 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed down to Baal." When Elijah thought he was the last faithful prophet standing, God revealed that thousands were hidden, waiting, prepared for such a time as this, just like you. You see, beloved, God has been strategically placing his chosen ones throughout this nation, throughout this world, like hidden coals ready to ignite. You felt isolated because you were being protected. You felt different because you were being prepared. You felt alone because heaven was keeping you hidden until the appointed time. But that time is now. One spark can start a fire, but together we are a blaze no darkness can put out. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead is connecting every chosen heart watching this message right now. We are not scattered fragments anymore. We are becoming an army. And let me tell you something that will shock you to your core. You are not here to just survive the darkness of these times. You are here to dispel it. You are not survivors, chosen one. You are soldiers. You are not spectators watching the world fall apart. You are awakeners called to shake it back to life. The question burning in my spirit right now is this: how long will you keep your light hidden under a bushel? How long will you let the world convince you that your voice doesn't matter? How long will you stay silent when heaven itself has given you words that can resurrect the dead places in people's hearts? Jesus declared in Matthew 5:14, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden, cannot be hidden. Not should not be or might not be, cannot be." Your divine nature is meant to be seen, felt, experienced by everyone around you. But here's what breaks my heart. Some of you are still hiding. Some of you are still apologizing for the fire in your chest. Some of you are still shrinking back when God is calling you to step forward. You're treating your calling like a whisper when heaven wants you to roar. Listen to me carefully, beloved. The world is not waiting for another motivational speaker. The world is not waiting for another self-help guru. The world is waiting for awakened chosen ones who understand their divine origin and are bold enough to walk in it. Do you feel that stirring in your chest right now? That's not your imagination. That's the Spirit of the living God confirming what I'm speaking over your life. You are being activated. You are being commissioned. You are being sent. Romans 8:19 declares, "For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed." Did you catch that? Creation itself is waiting for you to step into who you really are. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now. I need you to do something right now that's going to shift the spiritual atmosphere over your life. I need you to stop being a secret agent for the kingdom of God. Share this message. Let the world see that you're not ashamed of your divine identity. Comment your testimony below. Tell us how God has shown you that you're not ordinary. Declare publicly what heaven has been whispering to you privately, because when you step out of hiding, you give permission for others to do the same. When you raise your voice, you awaken voices that have been sleeping. When you shine your light, you ignite lights that have been dimmed by fear. But I'm going to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. The enemy is watching this moment. He's terrified of what's about to happen when thousands of chosen ones stop playing small and start walking in their authority. He knows that one awakened believer is dangerous, but a community of awakened chosen ones is unstoppable. This is why he's been working overtime to keep you isolated, intimidated, and ignorant of your true power. But his time is up. The scales are falling from your eyes. The veil is being torn. The silence is being broken. And now, I want to pray over every chosen one hearing my voice. Not a casual prayer, but an impartation that will release something in your spirit that has been locked up for too long. Father, in the name of Jesus, I break every chain of isolation that has bound these chosen ones. I break every lie that whispered they were alone. I break every fear that kept them hidden. I break every doubt that made them question their calling. Lord, release fresh fire into their bones. Release prophetic vision into their minds. Release boldness into their voices. Let them no longer walk as orphans, but as sons and daughters of the Most High. Let them no longer speak as victims, but as victors. Let them no longer move as followers, but as leaders. I release courage over them right now. Courage to share their story. Courage to declare their identity. Courage to step into rooms they've never entered and speak truth that's never been spoken. In Jesus' mighty name, let the awakening begin. Now, chosen one, the question that will determine your destiny is this. Will you answer the call, or will you let another generation pass by wondering what could have been if heaven's army had risen when it was supposed to? Because what I'm about to reveal next about your hidden identity will either launch you into your greatest chapter or leave you haunted by the truth you chose to ignore. Chosen one, as we come to the end of this sacred encounter, I need you to carry 3 eternal truths with you, like precious treasures in your heart. First, your identity was never hidden because you weren't worthy. It was protected because you are invaluable. Heaven concealed who you really are until this moment, because the enemy would have tried to destroy you before you were ready to fight back. Your hidden years weren't wasted years, they were preparation years. Second, that restlessness you felt your entire life, That sense of not belonging, that feeling of being different, it wasn't a curse, it was confirmation. You never fit in because you were never supposed to. You are not of this world, just as he is not of this world. Your divine DNA has been calling you home to your true identity. Third, the loneliness you've carried, the rejection you've faced, the misunderstanding you've endured, none of it was punishment. It was positioning. God has been setting you apart, refining you in the furnace of obscurity, preparing you for a calling so significant that it required decades of divine preparation. But hear me clearly, beloved, you are not walking this path alone. The same God who breathed life into your lungs is still breathing purpose into your destiny. The same God who called you before you were born is still calling you forward today. He hasn't brought you this far to abandon you now. Romans 8:28 reminds us that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. That's not just a verse, that's your reality. And beyond God's unwavering presence, you have something beautiful right here, right now. Look at this community that's formed around this message. Thousands of chosen ones who understand your journey, who felt your pain, who recognize your calling. We're not just viewers on a screen, we're family in the spirit. We see you, we understand you, we will pray with you. So let me ask you this final question, and let it settle deep in your soul. Now that you know who you really are, now that the veil has been lifted and your identity revealed, what will you do with this truth? Will you go back to living small, or will you rise and embrace the magnificent calling heaven has placed on your life? Before I release you into your destiny, join me in this prayer. Whether you're sitting alone in your living room, lying in your bed at 2 a.m., or driving in your car, place your hand on your heart and let me speak over your life with the authority of someone who has walked with God for decades. Almighty God, creator of heaven and earth, the Ancient of Days, I come before you now, carrying every precious soul who has heard this message tonight. Father, they've spent years feeling different, years feeling misunderstood, years wondering if they truly matter. But Lord, tonight, let every lie be silenced by your truth. I pray for divine awakening over their lives right now. Let them see themselves through your eyes. Let them understand that their struggles weren't random, they were strategic preparation for the calling you've placed on their lives. Where they see scars, let them see credentials. Where they see rejection, let them see selection. Where they see isolation, let them see divine separation for holy purpose. Father, heal every wounded place in their hearts. Restore every dream the enemy tried to kill. Resurrect every hope that disappointment tried to bury. Let them know beyond any doubt that their identity is secure in you, their calling is confirmed by you, and their future is guaranteed by your faithfulness. Lord, open doors in their lives that no man can shut. Bring divine connections that will accelerate their purpose. Give them courage to step into rooms they've never entered, to speak words they've never spoken, to walk in authority they've never imagined. For those facing health battles, breathe healing into their bodies. For those struggling financially, open windows of provision. For those feeling forgotten by family, surround them with spiritual family who will value their calling. For those questioning their worth, remind them that they are fearfully and wonderfully made. Most of all, Father, let them feel your presence right now. Let them know that they are loved beyond measure, chosen beyond understanding, and destined for greatness beyond their wildest dreams. Give them strength for tomorrow, hope for the future, and peace for this very moment. In the mighty, matchless, unshakable name of Jesus Christ, I seal this prayer over their lives. Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Amen. Now, chosen one, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, share how this message has impacted your heart tonight. What shifted in your spirit? What truth are you finally ready to embrace? Don't hold back. Your testimony might be exactly what another chosen one needs to hear to step into their own awakening. If you feel led, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. There's someone in your life right now, a family member, a friend, a co-worker, who's been feeling that same stirring, that same divine restlessness. They need to know they're not alone. They need to know their identity too. And if this message has blessed you, if it's given you clarity about who you are and why you're here, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. We're building something powerful here, a community of awakened chosen ones who refuse to stay hidden any longer. Every subscription helps us reach more people who desperately need to hear this truth. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart to receive what heaven wanted to pour into you tonight. Thank you for being brave enough to consider that maybe, just maybe, you are far more significant than you ever dared to believe. Your identity has been revealed. Your calling has been confirmed. Your community has been established. Now go, and let the world see what happens when a chosen one finally remembers who they are. Until we meet again in this sacred space, walk as who you are, beloved, chosen, called, and commissioned for such a time as this. God bless you, mighty warrior. Your finest hour is just beginning.